During my freshman year of college, my dorm room was the hangout space on my floor. People wandered in and out of its open door policy to grab a companion, to go to the cafeteria, watch a game, or usually just kill time to avoid doing anything related to studying. When 18 and 19-year-old young men arrive at college, they experience the shock of unchecked freedom of choice without immediate consequences or guilty eyes of their mothers. This results in a proportionally problematic behavior for humans recognized by society as adults. But for my friends, we filled the void by entertaining each other with nonsensical conversations and debates, with the naive confidence of people who didn't have an insurance agent or a 401k. The debates got even so absurd that one night we spent hours on it. I can't even, I'm starting to laugh as I'm saying this. We spent hours and hours talking about which animal was bigger, a horse or a moose. Yes, grown human beings, technically adults, arguing for hours, which was bigger, a horse or a moose. And again, this is not in 1985. This is in the 2000s. But anyways, one evening of drowning our boredom in my dorm room, another interesting conversation was instigated between two of my friends, Greg and Spencer. Like any great debate, the spark that lights the bonfire of conversation is someone saying something bold. And Greg had the audacity to say, Magic Johnson is the greatest basketball player of all time. Gasps came from the bunks, floors, and wooden chairs that our friends were propped on in our 10 by 10 foot room. Spencer didn't waste any time jumping into the prosecution of Greg's bold statement. His main argument? Michael Jordan.
It became personal with me.
On one side, Greg ironically defended his claim like the final stand of the Spartans at the Battle of Thermopylae. On the other side, Spencer clearly outlined the pedigree of one of the most famous athletes on the planet. The funny thing is, some of us in the room started to transition from spectators to participants. A few, including myself, joined Greg's doomed quest for the sake of romance, while the majority joined Spencer's onslaught. It really didn't matter. Both were great basketball players and had enough petty cash to cover all of our tuition. Jordan and Magic certainly didn't need college freshmen to defend their legacy. Hell, there was a statue of Magic a quarter mile away from our dorm that we were having this argument, and a Jordan statue a 3.5-hour drive away displayed in front of the United Center in Chicago. What made us want to debate the greatest of all time? Is it an unanswerable question? And why do we keep having these debates? Welcome to a podcast called Least Important Things. I'm your host, Luke Ferris. I started thinking about the GOAT debate, the greatest of all time debate, when Argentina won the 2022 FIFA World Cup.
966 fans at Lusail Stadium. Gonzalo Montiel can win the World Cup for Argentina with this kick. Yes!
Quick plug, if you want to listen to more about the World Cup, listen to our World Cup episode if you haven't. But prior to the tournament, the global soccer GOAT conversation was down to arguably 4 players. The first 2 were the late great Pelé and Diego Maradona. Pelé, who played for Brazil in the 50s and 60s, became the first modern sports global icon, and Maradona played for Argentina in the 70s and 80s, beckoning a new age of transcendent entertainment on and off the field. In the modern day, the other 2 names to join the GOAT debate are Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. Messi, who had yet to usurp his domestic trailblazer in Maradona, was missing a coveted World Cup and his almost flawless resume. From pundits to former players to Buenos Aires shop owners, everyone knew a World Cup for Argentina would skyrocket Messi to the echelon of GOATs of the game. He did it. So now the debate begins. Messi, Maradona, or Pelé? And this is just one example of this GOAT debate or this versus debate. across pop culture, sports, entertainment, food, history. So I wanted to reach out to you about what you think the greatest of all time debate is. And here's what you said. Allie said, Aiden or Big from Sex and the City. And by the way, I'm a Team Aiden spokesperson, so I have a partisan view on this debate. Ella said, who's the best Spider-Man? Greg, yes, that's the same Greg in my story, said Beethoven or Mozart. Tommy said, ranch dressing or ketchup. Brooks said, Coke or Pepsi or Apple versus Microsoft. Tucker said, PlayStation versus Xbox. Chloe said, Friends versus How I Met Your Mother. And I think you could easily expand this to Friends in their early 30s living in New York sitcoms. Audrey said, Cats or Dogs. Jim said, Jess, Dean, or Logan from Gilmore Girls. At Vivi Celine, I don't know your first name, said, Sriracha or Tabasco. Mike said, when can you start listening to Christmas music? And are the prequels good? Nathan said, tennis players Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, or Novak Djokovic. Lisa said, Chipotle or Qdoba. These are a bunch from my wife's coworkers. Shaken or stirred, Ford versus Ferrari, boxers or briefs, crunchy or smooth peanut butter, red or white wine. And last but not least, both Andy and Connor said the greatest debate of all time is a hot dog, a sandwich, followed up by my personal favorite, is cereal a soup? I received amazing responses and a ton of great feedback, and it honestly changed my thought about this topic, not just being about the GOAT conversation, but all these silly, fun debates that we have in pop culture, food, and entertainment. It's such an easy way to have a conversation starter with somebody, and there's so many more. Think about Team Edward versus Team Jacob in the Twilight Saga. Think about who's the best Star Trek captain, who's the best Bond. There's so many great, silly, fun conversations that we have, but there's no real answer to it. I think we throw the best or the greatest or the better of the two around all the time because it's really ironic how people use the GOAT emoji to describe really all high achievers. Messi and in America, his counterpoint Tom Brady were kind of the first cultural athletes to have the title of GOAT, the acronym, the emoji. But it's now become so overused that the power of the phrase has almost been diluted. That's why I'm fascinated about the conversation. Because there is no official GOAT committee. Sure, there are Hall of Fames and annual award winners, Instagram followers, but each GOAT debate, whether it's on a shouting talk show or in the living room at your parents' house, are debates or unhinged dialogue without referees.
There is no way that LeBron will ever beat Jordan. Nobody will ever beat Jordan, okay?
Okay, LeBron's a better rebounder and passer.
Will you let me finish? Can you let me finish? Call me when LeBron has 6 championships.
Is that your only argument?
It's the only argument I need, Sean!
Who, for them, Michael Jordan is Paul Bunyan. You know, they are in sports parlance, the young child whose dad can always beat up all the other dads. No, you don't remember. You don't know. You weren't there. He was so tough and so big and so strong. And it's like, wait, you're supposed to grow out of that. And it's like, no, he's that.
In a one-on-one game, LeBron James, 6'9", 260 pounds. If the game was at 7, I think LeBron would win 7-3.
Sweet Lord.
Now you can talk. Wait a second. You can talk.
Let me tell y'all something. Michael Jordan is my man, my brother. I love him dearly. He's the greatest player.
Yeah, here we go.
He's the greatest player who ever lived.
Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, or Queen. Now, I know the Beatles seems like an obvious answer, but if the question is rock band, what is your... I think we have 4 different
Rolling
answers.
Stones. It's not even close. Rolling Stones, greatest rock and roll band of all time.
No one's not a huge fan of Ronaldo or Messi. Ronaldo is not the greatest player of all time.
Who is that?
I'm going to say his mate here.
If the question was who's the greatest Super Bowl quarterback in history, then there's no conversation. It's Joe Montana. But if the question is who's the greatest quarterback in history, I think we have to be fair and look at the numbers and look at the complete body of work. And a guy that's got 155 more touchdowns, 18,000 more yards, and 60 more wins than another guy who's a great player.
Big number here. Montana, 0 scandals.
That's true.
0 controversies.
Ooh. Wow. And
Zero Ugg sponsorships.
If Brady were to win one more ring.
Like the Messi conversation, oftentimes it comes down to winning trophies, awards, and championships. For example, what if I described a basketball player that won 2 consecutive NCAA titles, a gold medal, 5 MVPs, was a 12-time All-Star, scored 15.1 points per game, 22.5 rebounds per game, 4.3 assists per game, and won the most ever 11 NBA championships, and 2 of those were as a player-coach. If the debate is on merit, there's no doubt that he's the greatest basketball player, or possibly American athlete ever. And guess what? His name is Bill Russell. So why is Bill Russell left off the board when it comes to the GOAT debate that is typically reserved for the MJs, Kobe's, and LeBrons? Because there's no bounds to these debates. So logically, if we can't determine a true GOAT, then there's no reason to have these conversations. You could argue that there's an inherent Americanness in the proactive conversation about who's the best, the versus conversations, and GOATs. I mean, look at our iconography as a country, the monuments to military leaders, the pioneers, the business leaders, the busts of great players and walks of fame. Even the step-sibling of the GOAT debate is named after a monument of praised Americans, Mount Rushmore. But I think it's more than a tainted bad habit of American culture. The ambiguity of the greatest of all time, or who's the best, or is a hot dog a sandwich, is because they're so easy to debate. It's a simple conversation starter that anyone can jump into and participate in, whether they're sitting in a chair next to you or lying on a creaky dorm bunk above you. When it comes to GOAT debates, I think we need to focus less on the tangibles, because we need to be honest that it's more than resumes that make people great. It's about a deeper wonder of what makes one human stand out among the masses. What are the unique capabilities that our species can achieve? The GOATs of today are just purveyors for tomorrow. So let's focus our rhetoric less on titles and trophies and more on the cultural influence, service, and community impact. Through that lens, we will not only see the true greatness of the star athlete, actor, and artist, but the possibility of the greatness within ourselves.